Porter, Showtime, Shawn Porter, man. It's been a long time since
he got me in his room, y'all.
Pause, guys.
There you go. You guys are gonna start with it. All right, come on.
Oh man, it's been a while since you and I have actually hung out, talked, and everything like that. We've seen each other here and there. The last place I saw you was at Santa Monica. It was for the Crawford media workout and everything. Let's talk about Crawford because Crawford's obviously one of the biggest names in boxing. Last time we saw him before this time was the Errol Spence fight, which was 13 months later.
Yeah.
He's not no spring chicken right now. You know, Terence still has his skill and everything.
Yeah.
How quickly do you want him back in the ring?
Oh, that's a great question. I never even considered that, and especially him, because he's what I would consider. I always call I'm a Showtime fighter. Basically, beyond my name, when the bell rings, no matter how long it's been, I'm ready for whatever's about to happen. And I always felt like Errol Spence was that way. You could kind of look at certain guys and say, man, they do everything right in the gym and in the off time, so they're always, when it's go time, they're ready. I've always felt like Terence is a Showtime fighter from the standpoint of whenever you say go, go. However, to your point, you can't keep like getting cold like that and then trying to heat it back up. The older you get, the harder it is for you to go from 60 degrees to 105 degrees. That's just life, you know. So I think he definitely needs to get back in the ring before the end of this year. He was at a point in his career where he was really heating up.
Yeah.
I think if you're in boxing, he was already hot to us. The fighters, he was already hot. A lot of fighters didn't want to see him. Just keep it real. A lot of fighters playing the whole game of, you know, which side, so on and so forth. When he fought me, he was relatively hot. When he fought Errol, he was on fire. Mm-hmm. And him being on fire and then going back, or not really going back, but the performance on both sides being the way that it was between him and Majimov, I think it cooled him down a lot. So I think he's really got to get back in the ring just to kind of heat back up, you know. This is what I think. I think he's probably got another year. And I know that he really wants that Canelo Alvarez fight. No telling how long he's got if he's not getting the Canelo fight. But what I personally would want to see for a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, I would want to see him be fired before he goes out.
Gotcha.
I hate for him to, you know, have another okay performance. I want him to have another fire performance. Who's the fire against? If it ain't Canelo, I don't know.
What about Boots Ennis? I know that right now he had the fight at 154, but Boots is at 47. I know Terence can more than likely still make 47. If not, have Boots move up to 54. Do you think that fight is good?
I still don't think that fight happens. I think it's an amazing fight, but I don't think that fight happens. I think that, you know, respectively to Boots, Terence is just, you know, in a different realm at this point in their careers, you know, respectfully. But should that fight happen, I think that's lights out right there.
How do you see a matchup between those two going? Because we all know how Terence Crawford fights. And like you said, we haven't really seen Boots at his best.
It would be a little bit like we saw, just a little bit, like we saw with Majimov and Terence, where it was a whole lot of feints.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of resetting and a whole lot of resetting. It was a whole lot of resetting in that fight. But Boots ain't gonna wait, and it's the cool part of having a young fighter against a older fighter, slightly older, but a veteran.
Yeah.
The veteran's just gonna understand how to pick my poison, and the young guy's gonna force him to pick. You know what I mean? So we definitely get a much better fight, you know, than we got with Majimov and Crawford, but a little bit the same in terms of it. They mirror each other. I think they're gonna make a lot of the same moves and do a lot of the same things. And I think that you can either get a Boots that forces something and puts himself in a bad position, or a Boots that forces something and puts himself in an amazing position.
Do you think they kind of mirror one another? And what I mean by that is everyone knew Terence Crawford. Everyone knew of Terence Crawford, but he didn't have that person yet. Mm-hmm. And then you came around, and then Errol Spence came around.
Right.
Does Boots need Terence Crawford to become that version?
You know, so here's the thing, because I really don't think Boots is going to get Crawford. If Boots doesn't get Crawford, he still has to get there, right?
Correct.
So let's talk about how does he get there without Crawford. I think the way he gets there is he's just got to keep knocking them down. You keep performing a lot like Tank is doing, and you put people in a position where they have no choice but to accept what you bring in and what you're doing. Tank can get in the ring with Joe Blow tomorrow. People might be like but every single round people gonna be right there on the edge of their seats waiting to see what Tank gonna do. You know what I mean? So Boots is putting himself in a position where people are just coming to see you, boss. They're not really coming to see if somebody gonna challenge you and how long it's gonna go. But for the most part, we just want to see what Boots is gonna do. You know, so for me, I think for Boots, it's just gotta be keep fighting consistently. You know, he's been very sporadic. Of course, we already know what that's all about. If he can get consistent, he'll get there without Crawford.
Do you think with the addition of I forget how to say his name, but his Excellency,
yes,
and what he's doing, because he already has promotional deals with Golden Boy, he has with Top Rank, he started with Matchroom.
I saw it with Top Rank. I was like, okay, what's going on?
so it's like, do you feel that his power, his influence, his money can help make fights that we haven't seen?
I think at the moment it's the money that's making the fights we haven't seen. What I do know from a business standpoint, it's only going to take you so many times before these promoters feel like they're put in the background, before they say, okay, we can't do any more with you. We're too far behind. We're too far in the back. We want to be out front, you know. And so no telling when that's going to happen, but I feel like that could kind of be what happens, and opposed to promoters continuing to sell their fighters for a night, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk.
That sound bad?
No, I didn't sound bad.
Sell their fighters.
Sell their fighter. No, because that's what you're doing as a promoter. You're selling the fighter.
Yeah.
And you know, there's some fighters that sell better than others.
Yeah.
Like you said, Tank. People come to see him all the time.
Yeah.
We were just here for that fight.
Yeah.
The Tank David Benavidez doubleheader.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on to a different subject. We talked about Crawford. You brought up Canelo. Mm-hmm. Canelo has a fight against Berlanga.
Yeah.
A lot of people have. So I want to get your thoughts as to why
he said.
Yeah, a lot of people. I'm not gonna say it because a lot of people just. So I want to get your thoughts on it. And did you have the reaction that the majority of the boxing public had when you heard it?
I heard that the fight was being talked about, and I was like, nah. But then when it happened, it was like, listen, man. Here's what I do. I give a lot of. What my dad used to always say, he used to say, everything that I give to you, this is what my dad talking to me. He said, everything I give to you, I would charge somebody else. Somebody else got to pay me for what I'm giving to you. It's too late, so I'm going to give it anyway right now. Canelo should have said 2 years ago, I'm on my victory tour. Don't expect me to get in the ring with nobody that is going to really threaten who I am. Then nobody's going to threaten my life. Nobody's going to threaten my money at this point. I'm on my victory lap. This is what it is. We're not going to see him in the ring with David Benavidez, even though I'm starting to feel like we might actually see that fight. I'm starting to feel that way, actually. But I still, I'm on record for saying we never see that fight. I just feel like it's a hard night on the job that he don't want. But you've shown us ever since your third fight with Triple G, like, these hard nights ain't really what you about no more. You know, you're about selling out arenas and you're about making that money. If he was transparent with the world and telling us, just told us off the rip, no, David Benavidez he's really good. I'm still the guy, but I don't want to fight him. I'm going to fight everybody else. Just be transparent and let us know what you're doing instead of trying to force us to accept it. I already knew what the deal was. You're not fighting nobody that's going to put in danger your money, your legacy, and your health. But if you don't tell us that, we're going to keep demanding you fight David Benavidez, David Morrell, and maybe another name or two. And if you don't fight those names, then, The only thing that really makes me feel like Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga is going to sell is the fact that it's in Vegas and it's Puerto Rico versus Mexico. That's the only thing that makes me feel like this fight going to sell, but I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't.
It's going up against UFC at the Sphere.
And on top of that, it's going up against the UFC.
It's going up against UFC at the Sphere for the first time as well.
Yeah, and they're going up against Sean O'Malley. Like he's a juggernaut in the sport right now.
He's like, let's say, I would say the Tank Davis of UFC right now.
He's the Tank Davis of UFC right now.
He's the Tank Davis of UFC right now. He definitely is.
Yeah.
Oh man, do you think Berlanga stands a chance?
You can't present a question like that.
Okay.
You gotta be respectful.
Okay. Come on, man. I've seen Berlanga fight. Come on, bro. I know what's going. Do you think Berlanga, besides a puncher's chance, can do anything to trouble Canelo Alvarez that night?
I don't even think he has a puncher's chance, and I say it respectfully. We could
try to break it down, but it's just like nothing's gonna come out right.
I'm gonna do it. Styles make fights. What style do you present that is an effective style against Canelo Alvarez? You lost. Speed. What speed do you possess both with the hands and the feet that's going to give Canelo trouble? Because the only people who have given Canelo trouble are people that can move with a lot of speed. You don't win. We could talk about power, but we've seen Canelo Alvarez take punches from Triple G. Are you punching like Triple G? And do you have timing? So we go from power, no. Timing, we ain't seen you have timing against the best of them. So, I mean, the least of them. Yeah. So, how do we expect you to have time against the best of them? You know, so, I mean, ultimately, this is a one-sided fight.
Do you think that's the reason why they stacked the undercard? Because the undercard's pretty stacked. It has Caleb Plant in it, it has Rolly Romero, and then it has Erislandy Lara versus Danny Garcia.
They got to get these guys busy. They got to get these guys busy. I thought that when Amazon and PBC got together, I actually thought it was just going to be, everything was going to be free as long as you got the subscription. But I was surprised that the first fight was on pay-per-view. Obviously, this one's on pay-per-view as well. But I feel like they got to start rolling out. You got to start rolling out them FS1 type cards and those Fox,
NBC Sports,
and you got to start trying to roll out those cards. I think they stacked this card because they're behind the 8 ball right now, and they got to get some of these guys busy. But I really hope they find some dates and they start just rolling these cards out. They got the fighters.
Yeah, because Caleb Plant was supposed to fight, I believe, on the 10th or the 17th of this month of August. Wow. And then something occurred, and then he got pushed back, and now he's fighting.
They got the fighters. I don't know. I don't know. You know, they got the fighters. I thought this was the best move in boxing, you know, and since PBC launched, you know. Yeah. So, you know, DAZN launched, of course. What was that?
2016, 17, something like that.
Yeah. Maybe 2016, 2017, and that ended up being big, you know.
Yeah, DAZN was huge.
I thought this Prime deal was amazing, and I haven't seen it really get the wheels turning the way I feel it should have.
All right. According to Shawn Porter, who is the best up-and-coming young fighter that people need to hear about and know about?
Oh man, I gotta shout him out. Abdullah Mason. Yeah, even if he went from Cleveland, you know, I think I was a little bit more abreast to who he was before most people were. And you know, I've been saying on my platform for a while, check out check out the ESPN Plus. The future is on ESPN Plus, and he's been on the ESPN Plus. He was on that platform like a good 5 or 6 times, and now he's on ESPN. So he's the next thing, without a doubt.
What about him gives you that feeling?
All of it. He got the reflexes and tuition of Shakur Stevenson, but he's also has the flash and the offense of a Tank Davis. You know what I mean? Like, he's a hybrid of those guys. I know a lot of people, when you talk about Tank, they always talking about the power. Mm-hmm. Tank is extremely smart. Tank loves boxing, so he puts his all into it. But if I refer to Tank and I say, well, he's got this of Shakur and this of Tank, everybody oh, he ain't punching hard like Tank. I ain't saying he punching hard like Tank, but he is leaning these kids right now, and he's 135 pounds, 19 years old. I don't think he's 20 yet. So he is like, you know, the next truth.
So he's the next up and coming guy.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about Shawn Porter. Let's talk about the podcast.
Everything, man.
Talk about the podcast. Let me know where people can see it, how people could interact with it, and everything.
Super premature, and I'm cool with it. We're planning.
By the way, pause. Super premature.
Silly. Extremely premature. We're about to do a live podcast show at Radiant Studios. It's right there on Valley View and Flamingo. Friday night before Berlanga and Canelo fight.
So September 13th.
September 13th, 6 p.m. is our start time. We're going to get the information out this weekend. I believe we'll start really promoting it and pushing it. We want the fans to come out. We'll have the Eventbrite set up so you guys can purchase tickets to come to that. I've gotten confirmation from ProBox TV. We're going to get somebody from the Spanish side to come join in. So and then y'all know me, I'm trying to get everybody up in there. So I know ProBox will be in town. They're supposed to bring over somebody from the Spanish side. I can't imagine Paulie and Chris wouldn't want to come hang out. Of course, you got the Porterway Podcast fellas over there as well, and may have some other A-listers come in too. So I want you guys to keep looking out for that. That'll be up this weekend, leading into, next week. So it'll be up next week, and we're gonna really be pushing that, of course, in the next couple of weeks. Just got something going on, man. Always trying to do something big and better. So over there, Radiant Studios, they're been in communication with them about evolving the podcast a little bit more. And I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna do it, but the talks are they want a sports show, so not just boxing. And y'all been saying to y'all for a long time, I'm not just boxing. I've been showing that to you guys for a long time, but this is kind of that final, like, all right, somebody's giving me the opportunity to broadcast NFL, NBA, and kind of the list goes on from there. So we'll see.
A lot of Cleveland Browns stuff.
yeah, it's gonna be Cleveland Browns. We gonna start him in with Cleveland Browns. Yeah.
Now, I know I always ask you this question whenever I see you. This is the first time I'll ever ask you this question on camera.
Okay.
Ever thought of coming back? Any thought of it? Any thought of just stepping in the ring in exhibition or anything? Any thought of that?
Somebody called me the other day. I was just wondering. I said, it's not happening. It's not happening. And then the next day, I ended up outside a 5 a.m. bike ride, and I was thinking about it, and it's like, I just can't do it. It's just, I can't do it, My premature retirement was, there's so much more involved there from just a boxer retiring from the sport. As you guys can see, I'm still involved with the sport, and just trying to be an advocate for the sport of boxing. So I think the further away I get from being from that day of retirement, we're going on 3 years in November. Yeah. The further away I get, the bigger some things are going to be, and it'll all really make sense. But one of the main things is I want these fighters to understand that you have tomorrow without boxing, and when tomorrow without boxing comes, be ready for it. And you can be happy. You can still live a life. If you love the sport, you can still be involved. I'm training kids right now. The only time I spar is when I spar with the kids, because I'm not about to let them, do all, yeah. I can get in there. I can control it. So, but you can still be involved, just not in the ring where you're putting a lot of things at risk.
Every time you and I talk, we always have fun. We always joke around, clown around. For the fans, tell them something that they don't know about Shawn Porter.
Oh Lord, I had this question asked the other day. Goodness, I feel like you guys know everything, and the answer I gave a silly answer on the last one, so I like to mime. That's kind of like a thing that I do.
You like to mime?
I like to mime.
What?
Yeah, I like to mime. do you mean, what?
I've never heard anyone ever say they like to mime.
Yeah, but how many people like to mime?
Exactly. That's why I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, I like to mime.
All right. One of the last times I hung out with you was actually a very eventful one, and I want to talk about it. It happened after David Benavidez versus Andre. Remember? We ended up doing karaoke with Terrence.
Yeah, that's right.
Zab Judah and a couple of other people.
Yeah.
How is it that you guys created that fraternity, that pack? How is it that you guys just all link up with one another?
I tell people,
and the only reason why I asked that is because there's been plenty of times too. Remember when you had the high performance? There was a time when I walked in. I went to go see you.
Yeah.
But Demetrius was there. He was getting ready for BJ Saunders. And in the background was Caleb Platt.
Yeah, Caleb was in
there. Yeah, Caleb was on. And I'm like, how is it that you guys just all link up and y'all want to pretty much destroy one another in the ring, but are like friendly as
I
outside?
tell people like this is how the world is in everything. You have actors who have acted together in a film, actors and actresses who have acted together in a film. They exchange numbers. They keep in touch. They see each other at different carpet walks, red carpet walks, and all those sorts of things. And they high five and they have fun. The list goes on. The NBA, them guys played on Olympics together. You think that's the first time they played together? No.
Nah.
They've been knowing each other since they were in high school. Most of us been knowing each other since middle school. You know what I mean? So the fraternity is always there and it's always going to be there. You know, one of my favorite moments. I did the family feud back in 2020, right before the pandemic. Holyfield was on the team, Riddick Bowe was on the team, and we had a couple of other guys who happened to just be out there, fighters, and they all were around that 84 Olympic team.
Got it.
That 84 and 88 Olympic team. They all were around that time. And so they had went on trips together, they had sparred together and all those sorts of things. So we got to sit there and listen to Hall of Famers just tell stories about when they were early 20s. And remember that time I knocked you down in training and sparring? The fraternity is always going to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that's my favorite part of boxing. My favorite part of boxing, hands down, the relationships that I've made, because that's something that'll never go away. And people don't know this, but I keep up with Adrian Bronner.
Really?
I keep up with AB. You know what I mean? Like I text him from time to time. He's been out here, call me. You know what I mean? We always. That's one thing. We always have an understanding for one another. You know, you could watch football and you could have your favorite football players and you may even become friends with them or something like that. But when they get around another football player, now they're looking truly eye to eye and they know you understand everything I've been through. You know, everything I'm gonna go through, and there's a connection there. So that's how we are in the boxing too.
And finally, to end it like we always end it, let them know where they can follow you, get to know more about Showtime Shawn Porter, get to know more about the podcast, and just where they could continue to catch up with you.
Yeah, SeanPSuits.com. We just launched the suit line last year. We just launched the website a couple weeks ago. SP Showtime Shawn P on everything. Instagram, Twitter, X, all the good stuff. And the Porter Way Podcast. Bigger and better is what I've been saying since day one. And we are getting close. We're getting close. Oh, ProBox TV. Shout out to ProBox TV.
And as always, Shawn, thank you so much for your time, my man. It's always a pleasure.
You got it, man.